Okay, we're back. Devin and I are here for Nerd Rage Gaming. We've got the quarterfinals coming up. Thanks for sticking with us. We got the pictures taken. We got everything all situated. The players are now discussing how many rounds they're going to play tonight, but we've got at least the quarterfinals coming up right now, and I have a hunch we're going to have the rest of it, but we'll see. Anyway, we've got a bracket, so let's go ahead and throw that up. You can see who all advanced, and you can see there all the players that are through. We're going to be watching the 4-5 match, which is Derrick Davis. Give me a second here. Andrew Branham and Drew Myers playing against James McCoury. I'm sorry, against AJ Valentine, John McKinley, and James McCoury. Yeah. So that's the match we're going to watch there on the bottom left of your screen. And now, so let's go ahead and while we have a minute, because they're still getting things situated, Dev and I are going to go through a little bit of the metagame of what we have in our top 8. So this is just our top 8 metagame. And it came out, well, fairly interesting. And Pioneer, Devin.
Pioneer, maybe not so much.
5 green decks.
Yeah, I think Pioneer is maybe the part that's maybe not so interesting. But yeah, 5 green decks. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, am I surprised? I would say probably not that surprised. It is, yeah, I would say it is probably the most powerful deck. It's going to be the most represented, and yeah, 5 copies.
Yeah, no black-red mid-range makes it through. We got 5 green decks. We have 1 black-red sacrifice, 1 Bant Spirits, and 1 blue-eye control. Nothing on there shocking, but green clearly dominating. In Legacy, and we have surprises all over the place. 5 green decks, I think, is surprising in Pioneer. Legacy, 3 Doomsday decks. So you combo fans can be happy. We have 3 Doomsday decks. We have Elves, which is no longer a combo deck in Legacy, but it used to be. So that kind of counts.
You can't even call it Elves anymore. You really can't.
Yeah, yes, yeah. We have Painter, which is also less of a combo deck than it used to be. It's kind of a prison deck now. We have Death and Taxes, which is still very much Death and Taxes. And we have 2 4-color control decks. So, okay, a decent spread of stuff, I would say, right?
Yeah, and then as I think one of the Doomsday decks had kind of the more mid-rangey stuff with like Murktide Region and that kind of stuff. So yeah, very even across the 3 Doomsday decks, there's a wide variety of different things going on. So yeah, and also very notably 0 Delver decks in top 8, which is this is the first time I've ever seen a Legacy top 8 with no Delvers. So
yes, indeed. All right, then we've got Modern. Now I'm going to try and take a deep breath here and read off the Modern archetypes because there are 8, which is, I mean. Is that ideal? I think it is, right?
That's how they go with that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Modern top 8 decks. We have Yawgmoth, Is It Breach, Blue-Eyed Hammer, Blue-Eyed Control, the Rakdos Scam deck, Green-White Heliod, Temur Scapeshift, and a 5-color Creativity deck. So a good mix of the field, I would say so. Again, no Murktides.
Yeah, green white Heliod. Did we travel back in time a year?
We may have. I don't know. The annual turnover got all screwed up with coronavirus. I think we lost a couple of years along the way, but things are certainly different. All right, let's go ahead and go down to the table and see. We're going to start with Modern.
Starting with Heliod.
Yeah. Well, why not? We haven't seen one yet today. So you can see here, we're going to watch Andrew Branham and John McKinley to start with. Production, maybe we can, if it's possible, we can change that to Yorion, like D&T or something, instead of what's currently on the screen. Might look a little sharper. And we even found a match for Pioneer that's not the Green Mirror. There's guaranteed to be one Green Mirror,
of them,
at least in this top 8. We couldn't avoid it, but not one here. And yet we still have a Turn 1 Elf. Different format.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Slightly different elf, but funnily enough, that's a Horizon Canopy with Arbor Elf. So that's, obviously not the best start, but I'm sure that I think there's a forest hanging out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So for if John McKinley's paying attention, that seems fairly likely that forest was the draw for the turn.
And I mean, this Heliod deck is, I mean, if you took a Heliod deck list from, a year and a half ago before Modern Horizons 2 came out, this is basically, I think it's almost the exact same deck list. I don't even think there's really much that's changed, because there's definitely there's really no Modern Horizons 2 cards. This is pretty much just the standard deck that you would see before then.
if there's no Modern Horizons 2 cards, how can it possibly be a playable deck? How could it be in
That's a
top
good
8?
point.
That's impossible. All right, so we have Conclave Mentor here. There is a Collected Company in hand for Andrew, but a mana short to be able to cast it here after the run in 6. Actually, 2 mana short after the run in 6 picked off the elf. And okay, gaining life equal to its power, not too exciting.
Yeah, Ren and 6 picking off an elf and no third land here for Andrew. So
Mm-hmm.
you probably correctly identified that the forest was probably off the top. Maybe, well, no, because I don't think you would keep a Horizon Canopy
Right.
plus Arbor Elf hand. But I think the reason that Andrew wanted to do that is in case maybe he drew like a basic planes, then he could potentially deploy like an Auriak champion. So wouldn't be
Sure.
surprised if there's some double white cards in Andrew's hand.
Yeah. No, that would make sense.
But yeah, this Heliod deck is basically what you're used to. This Arbor Elf Utopia Sprawl for Mate Acceleration, the full combo package, Heliod Spike Feeder, Ranger Captain to search for Walking Ballista, which also combos with Heliod, 4 Collected Companies. There's a Giver of Runes, 3 Auriak Champions, just pretty much the exact same deck list from a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of wild.
All right, so we saw Ren 6 uptick there with no land to pick up. And then Mentor attacks and runs into a lightning bolt.
Yeah, I think we tapped 2 mana to give it lifelink.
There we
I
go.
believe.
Okay, I was gonna. Yeah, I didn't pick up. I knew the mana was tapped for something. I was trying to figure out what it was, but you were correct. That's what it was. And then, okay, Bolt picks it off, and Heliod gets a counter for Andrew gaining life from Mentor dying. Right? Yeah.
Yep, Mentor dies, Heliod triggers, get a counter. Still missing land drops for Andrew though. This is getting tough. I mean, so here's a question. This the Temur Scapeshift deck. Now, we talked about before how if you have, Dryad plus Dryad plus Scapeshift, you can deal upwards of 50,000 damage. How about Infinite Life? Can we beat Infinite Life? I feel like
Yeah.
we probably can't.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, this Infinite Life doesn't require you to deck yourself like the Elves decks we talked about with Julian earlier. So yeah, that's problematic. This is a matchup where even if the Scapeshift deck is all ready to fire, if Andrew Branham can collect the company into the combo, he can just get out of range.
Yeah, and with the Heliod being on the battlefield, if Andrew draws a land, he might even have a Spike Feeder rolled up. So,
Yeah,
given the presence of no red mana, you could just see land Spike Feeder. And
yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna take a look at the deck list for Scapeshift here, but I don't really think there's any chance we could beat
Mhm.
5 trillion life or whatever number that
Right. Well,
Andrew would decide to go to.
Cavity Township into Spike Feeder.
There it is.
There's an ice in hand. Did we miss an opportunity? No, it's a remand.
Okay, remand. Yep.
All right, remand Spike Feeder back to hand. However, let's see. I don't think John's winning this turn either. So
Well, now that John has access to red mana, you could keep up something like a Fire Ice or a Lightning
sure.
Bolt, because the way that the Heliod stuff works is if the Spike Feeder's a 2/2 and you remove a counter to activate the Spike Feeder,
Mhm.
if a removal spell is played in response, there's only one counter left. So then if you remove the counter, the Spike Feeder dies before the
Right.
Heliod triggers. So removal spells do break up the combo.
So that brings up an interesting question then. If you're John McKinley, do you ice a land at upkeep because you know Andrew does not have another land in hand, or do you hold it in your hand in case you can try and pick it off like you were just saying?
If Fire Ice is the only piece of interaction, I'm holding it, because
Mhm.
if you ice upkeep and then Andrew just draws a land, then you're kind of screwed. But if
Okay.
you have something like Ice plus Bolt, maybe you can ice a land upkeep, and then even if a land is drawn, you still have the Bolt to not die,
Mhm.
or to not get comboed, I should say. So with Ice being the only interaction, I definitely like just not casting it here for sure.
Okay. Well, John agrees with you.
And this does kind of open you up to maybe collect a company into double Spike Feeder, but I think you just have to take your licks if that happens.
Okay. Spike Feeder in play. So Andrew Branham would be well advised to not pull the trigger, and he does not.
Yeah, and then we'll have to see if John makes a move, which also John does not. And this is pretty easy for John, right? You just go tap 4 mana, play Scapeshift. If you could even float 2 mana off of the Scapeshift, get all
Mhm.
the Valakut triggers, then the Spike Feeder activates in response. You fire this Spike Feeder. Should be pretty easy from here.
Right. Yeah. This is this is one of the times, and I feel like a lot of times floating mana off Scapeshift really doesn't accomplish a whole lot because you're just not going to do anything anyway. This case, it does actually matter.
Oh yeah.
Because your land coming to play tapped would be significant. Also, it could be, Scapeshift and then just keep the fetch lands in play. Would that make any sense?
Scapeshift for 4.
I mean,
At
or
that
5
point,
in this case. I mean, it's still going to be plenty of damage.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's probably maybe slightly better to get more triggers. I don't know if it matters too much in the end.
All right. Well, there's 2 more lands. Now there's okay. So there we go. There's a lead off with Reign 6. That's nice play from John.
Yeah, that forces it out too.
Yeah. That allows him to leave up the most mana possible. Probably had this wrapped up either way, but that was a nice way of doing that. Andrew being tapped out. It's not going to be much to it here. Gains 4 life.
Not the 20, but as we talked about before,
Yeah.
the 20 is not 50,000, so.
Not quite.
All right, how much damage? 3 Valicates. Let's do some quick math. 8 lands? 3
Oh,
Valicates, 8 lands. Each is 9. 9 times 8 is 72, I think.
No. Andrew's not interested in counting. He knows he's dead. 1 breath away from infinite life, and instead, negative 10,000. All right, so 1 game up for John McKinley. So question in chat for explanation. So, if a damage is allowed to go through on the spike feeder, and then you take a counter off to try and combo off, your spike feeder will immediately die.
Yeah,
before
it'll be a
any of the
1/1
triggering
with
happens. Yeah,
1/1 with 1 damage marked on it. So
right. So so it was kind of if if he doesn't do that, then the fire ice kills anyway. So you may as well force it right there and see. All right. So in Pioneer, we have Blue White Control versus Mono Green. We have Wandering Emperor. We have Omen of the Sea and Mono Green. Not doing a ton right now.
yeah, this matchup is actually pretty interesting. There's a lot of so obviously the green deck has a lot of access to a lot of threats. You have the Overgrowth Trolls, Cavaliers, Planeswalkers. So there's some, some kind of dancing around trying to like jam threats into counterspells. Which threats do I expose to counterspells? Do I like just jam my best threat first and just so there's a lot of there's that to think about. Then there's also the Wandering Emperor, which we see in play. Very very frequently you'll see there'll be like a situation where do I want to play my spell pre-combat, get a counter, then not expose myself to Wandering Emperor in attacks? Do I just not attack and don't get my Troll or Cavalier Wandering Emperor? Because if that stuff gets verdicted, it's a lot better for you. So a lot of things to think about in this matchup.
All right, so Wolfwillow Haven comes down. So AJ's lands make a lot of mana here, but I think the last card in hand is another Nykthos. So Wandering Emperor, I mean, puts out a pretty consistent pressure. It doesn't take too long to kill opponent from 20 here, even if you're starting with just a Samurai attacking for 2.
Yeah, that card has been really impressive for me. That's one card that when it first got printed, I knew it is decent, but the more I see it in play, it's just been so impressive. Just being able to like hold it up the turn that you're holding up a counter spell. If they don't play into your counter spell, then you get to play a proactive threat. It's hard for them to attack into it. It's life gain. It's just it's worth so many cards.
All right. Well, I was going to ask the question why the Wandering Emperor didn't feel the need to do anything first, but here's temporary lockdown to clean up the tokens and everything. There are actually 4 copies of lockdown in this deck. So here is Omen of the Sea tapped out. So if AJ can, find that's nice. Yeah, Wandering Emperor. Yeah.
Yeah, Wandering Emperor with Yorion's really nice.
Yeah.
Very, very, very cool combo.
Yeah, comes into play and activates instant speed, and AJ
draws
draws land. Yeah, so
this is a spot that I'm sure you're very, very familiar with playing various control decks over the years.
I am, and my experience is the reason why people dislike Miracles is because they never concede in this spot. They never concede when their counterbalance locked when you have Jason play, and they're just like, "Oh, I have a chance," and then they lose 5 minutes later. It's like, no, you were already dead. But
Drew Llanowar Elves, though,
Here, you're more alive. You're not locked out. I mean, there are one card, single cards that can win the game. Maybe a good storm for green
Yeah.
could
Yeah,
get out
if I
of
mean
this.
if Storm the Festival did resolve, there is a chance that AJ could win this game.
Mhm.
It would have to be the best Storm imaginable, but
Well, yeah. I mean, we saw one of those already today, hitting Cavalier and
the Sky
Skyscraper in a
Sovereign? Yeah.
situation where it was a nice setup here. Here, if you hit something like
Yeah, I'm trying to think
Karn
of what's best
and
possible here.
yeah, I don't know. It would
Not
be
Forest.
no. All right. So Derrick Davis takes down game one. So one game each so far. Let's see where we got. We got Legacy on tap. Wherever
Think we're
we've
going to
got. Here we
Legacy?
go.
Yeah, we
Okay.
are. Now I want to take a look at the deck list. I want to see if this is the more mid-rangey Doomsday deck.
Well, I don't think this is going to last too much longer, regardless, because Doomsday only has 2 cards left in the deck.
That is true.
All right. Things made slightly more difficult because of Thalia being in play. Here's a fetch. After 1 mana was paid for the Lion's Eye Diamond. Swamp. Who wants a swamp?
Yeah, to make sure you shuffle and cut the one card library though.
Yeah. All right. Lion's Eye Diamond for blue.
So we went cycle Edge of Autumn, hold priority, crack the diamond, play the Oracle.
Mhm.
Yep.
And
All
game.
right.
All
That'll
right.
do it.
Okay, back where we started in Modern. Let's see if Andrew Branham can even up. His 2 teammates did pick up game ones, and this timed out well as we're at the beginning of game number 2.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if Andrew can kind of have a little bit more of a better mana draw. You know,
Mhm.
a lot of the problems that Andrew had in game one was just due to the fact that missing that third land drop, getting the Arbor Elf killed, just not being able to set up the combo quick enough.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we take a look at the sideboard for the Scapeshift deck, I don't. Sometimes you see an Emrakul in here, but I'm looking at the sideboard and I still don't really see a realistic way to beat Infinite Life. So, I think the combo's still good enough.
Okay, well, this is not a combo that's particularly hard to assemble either. Although, granted, we didn't even see it in game 1, but still, when I think of difficult to execute combos, this isn't the one that comes to mind. No play on the first couple turns here for Andrew, though.
I don't know about you. Every time I see that land, it looks like a Temple of Plenty. I just
Yeah,
get
it
so
doesn't.
confused.
I don't. Yeah, it does not look like. Is that? I don't know. Is that Temple Garden? It is, right?
Temple Garden, yeah, is
Yeah.
the
No,
new.
it's
It's one of the promo ones.
that is not something I. That is not a piece that I associate with Temple Garden. Not even
Oh,
close.
well, we
Who
got the.
decided that being able to express yourself and have individualism with your different cards was a good idea? Come on.
I know, right? Looks like we got the lighting back. So this is. Are we going to have one of those try to card evaporation games?
Oh, exactly. Oh, I was talking about it was gonna be player evaporation.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The force of the sunlight, the sun is powerful. If the full force of the sun comes streaming through the windows right exactly into Andrew Branham's, play area, he might just, be completely just I don't know, destroyed.
There's gotta be something against TOS for
Incinerated.
that, right?
Crisp. Yeah, I mean, you're playing unholy heat. It's like unholy heat, except it's to the player.
Unholy heat target you.
Exactly. Except the sun is doing it, not your opponent. Anyway, no plays on either side for the first couple turns this game.
Yeah, very interesting. No elves, no 2-drop, no Oriox. And we're starting off with a captain. I'd be surprised if there wasn't a remand. Because we also didn't cast ice upkeep, so
Mhm.
that's a spot where I feel like you almost want to ice there. If there's no play on turn 1 or turn 2, you have to
Right.
assume that there's a 3-drop, right?
Right. I mean, what else could there be? Just mono collected
Yeah.
companies. I mean, yeah, I like ice preemptively quite a bit. Uh, Not just here, but just in general as a card because it's not something that's. I mean, it broke up the combo last game, but that's not always going to happen.
Yeah.
And also, if just with no plays, yeah, I think it's great. Plus, I mean, this rain. Well, now this Rangers here, you can bolt that, take care of that because that's kind of a must. You don't want that sitting around.
Yeah, Ranger can also protect your combo, right? If you have,
Yeah.
if, let's say you have like a Heliod and a Ranger in play, you can just sack the Ranger, then play the Spike
Mhm.
Feeder, and then kind of off to the races there. So
Yeah. All right. Well,
Again, iteration, looking
Yeah.
for really just lands, right? There's really no one
Yeah.
drops that we could play off the iteration here. There's
No, I
no
think it's just
like,
bolt. There's nothing you can even threaten here. Yeah, it's just gonna be Triumph.
yeah,
Okay,
just
so
land.
Andrew could company into a game win here. I mean, that's possible.
Yeah. Company into Heliod plus Spike Feeder. I see, I think 2 Heliods, the Giver, a Path in hand. I think that's what I saw. Yep. Can't get a glimpse of the last card, but there's definitely a Heliod and a Path in hand for sure. Path is an interesting one. I wonder why you would want to go towards Path. I guess because, well, it's kind of weird, right? Because so Pathing Dryad does kind of theoretically mean that John needs more lands to go off, but you're
Mhm.
also giving John a land when you're pathing them. So it kind of
That-
defeats the purpose, right?
That's true. That's true. I'm there
I
could
guess if
be.
there's no Scapeshift involved, it like breaks up the natural, just Dryad Valakut stuff.
I mean, you could end up in a scenario where it's fairly specific, where if there's a Dryad and John scape shifts on 6 mana, then you could and doesn't get
True.
enough
That is a good
mountains,
point.
then you could let it come into play and then path. But that's fairly specific. I don't know that's something that's going to happen on consistently on how the games are going to play out. All right, if there was company, I would imagine we might have seen it in response to iteration there.
Yep. So iteration. I think there's a Fury hanging out there in the 3. I think I saw a Fury. It's like we have, I think it was a Fire Ice, a Scapeshift, in hand at least. Endurance being brought in. Interesting.
Well, let's see. What does that?
Okay, we must have the deck list wrong. I was looking at the deck list and I don't see endurance, but there's also only 13 sideboard cards, so
Okay.
we must just be missing those.
All right, so here is a company.
All right, let's see if we hit the combo. I mean, we have a Heliod in play, but
Mhm.
there is red ban available, so
But it's something that even then, if you find it, then the red man is taxed for the rest of the game, basically.
no combo, but some pressure. And Heliod getting turned on with devotion could maybe give us a 2-turn clock, but not likely to happen in the face of the red man available.
Mhm. Well,
So Spike Feeder's good. I wish it was. I wish that we were able to attack with the Heliod here, because then we'd be kind of be pressuring on 2 fronts here. Like
mhm.
we would just have a 2-turn clock and then also have the combo set up. So we're kind of putting John in the squeeze there. But the Heliod itself not being able to attack this turn doesn't really present enough pressure to be able
Right.
to like force John to use a removal spell on our random beats.
Yeah, I mean, if there was another Giver of Runes in hand, Andrew could have played that out first, probably drawn a removal spell on Discalculated Apparition or something to turn off Devotion, and then one with Feeder post combat. That would have been pretty cool. As it stands,
Oh,
this is
actually, no. I thought about something. The Conclave Mentor actually makes this fine, right? Because you go Spike Feeder into play, Conclave Mentor trigger on the stack, gain a life, Heliod trigger, put a counter on the feeder. If
okay.
then
Then it,
John responds to that with the red removal spell,
sure,
then you just go infinite, right?
yeah.
So this actually should be good enough. Yeah, the Mentor makes this pretty easy, assuming the trigger's remembered. Which
Yeah, it's just straight up 3 counters because of
oh
the
yeah, I always
yeah.
forget the Mentor has another ability too. Yeah, okay.
And yeah, okay. So after attack there, and then we gotta see it tick down, and yeah, that's it. Okay, so Andrew Branham will win game 2, and we have a match on our hands. Okay.
Yeah, I always forget that Mentor is also the basically like a hardened scales kind of thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Whoa, is that a turn 1 opposition? Opposition agent, not opposition.
It is in fact an opposition agent in play off of ritual, and then surgical on. So this must be in response, right?
Probably in
Otherwise,
response to the agent. How does that
otherwise,
work?
well, Drew, if it was if the agent was in play, or wait, no, I'm sorry, opposition agent was your opponent searches their own deck, right?
Is it their own deck, or if it just an opponent searches a library?
I think it's their own deck.
Their
Yeah,
library, okay,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say that would be kind of weird if you like let the opposition agent resolve, go to surgical the dark rituals, and you actually was just like, nah, I'm not gonna remove my own dark rituals.
Well, isn't this going to be interesting though? Yeah. So this batter skull here, actually, it's definitely in play because that batter skull is in play, or is
Oh,
in
this was in response to
Drew's
the
exile zone. Yeah.
Stoneforge.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah. So this was quite an unpleasant start there for James.
that's a beating. Oh boy.
So the batter skull is not going to be easy to get into play, especially without your dark rituals. Wouldn't that have been something? Another dark ritual, get batter skull into
Yeah.
play right away.
Maybe that's why James felt pressured into
Yeah.
surgicaling the dark rituals. He didn't want to
Sure.
just hard cast the batter skull.
All right. So opposition agent in play. Um, fetch
This is
land's
like a
not.
cube game.
Yeah, fetch land's not really an issue here, but Stoneforge obviously um, blanked for the most part.
Yep. Yeah, what else do we have that searches? Let's pull up the what am I can't talk. Death and
It's not a
Taxes deck
lot.
list.
It doesn't appear.
So we
Oh,
get
okay. I think is well.
Recruiter,
Yeah, that's a good one.
Stoneforge, and I think that's it.
Timeless
Yeah.
Dragons, I guess.
Oh, if we land cycle it, yeah.
Sure. All right. Well, here's Calder complete from hand. That's pretty good. And uh,
I just want to see this Battle Skull cast.
the hand gestures from James. This feels like what happens when something. Oh, we're just waiting for the germ. I see. So something.
Oh, we just had the cauldron in hand. Oh,
Yeah.
that's rough beats.
And in fact, empty-handed now for James. And this opposition agent, I mean, yeah, it's not. I'm not really going to question bringing it in because Stoneforge is and Recruiter are good, but yeah, it doesn't do anything else. And Drew's here now with his opposition agent and way behind on the board.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we basically kind of put all our eggs into this opposition agent basket, which we kind of had to do because otherwise we would have just 100% lost to the searched Cauldra. Well, the problem is what happens when they draw their Cauldra, and that's just
Yeah.
that's just it's kind of a beating here.
Yeah. Now Drew is definitely not out of it. This Doomsday deck can win from a lot of ugly scenarios, but it is much harder to cast Doomsday without Dark Ritual. There are still Cabal Rituals in the deck. I believe there's 2 copies as well as some Lotus Petals, but right now, only 2 black mana sources in play. And here comes the Cauldra.
Yep, Cauldra still getting in there.
Stoneforge Mystic, are we sure about that?
Well, Stoneforge is a May. Which actually, chat brings up a good point because you could just choose not to search after getting opposition agent, right? Well,
Okay.
so what I'm saying is Stoneforge might be a May though.
Right.
Is it
So
a May?
let's
actually check.
We were just told by the director that on a yeah, it does say you may search.
It's a May.
All right.
Yeah. So you can just decline. If you get opposition agent, you could just decline, and then you wouldn't even get the batter skull out of that.
So would this be a scenario where once you announce the trigger though, and then they respond, you've committed? Because normally, if you acknowledge a trigger, it's going to happen.
Well, I'm thinking that because the Cauldron was already in hand, maybe you just wanted the batter skull out of your deck because you just didn't want to draw it because it's kind of a bad draw. Knowing that you already have the Cauldron,
Yeah. All right. So 2 Edge of Autumn cycled there, and then the term is passed. That's a bad sign for Drew.
Oh, cycle 2 Edge of Autumns. Jeez.
All right.
Yep. Just
Pro
go Pro Black. And that should be good enough, I assume. I don't really think. I mean, so we have life totals correct.
Yeah. No, I think it's all right.
Okay.
Drew may have something.
We're still playing.
There's still some other runes untapped. I don't know what this is going to be.
See if I can grab the deck list here. What could this possibly be? Could be a chain. Oh, Chain of Vapor on the not on the germ, but on the Cauldra. That could buy a turn.
Nice. That would do it. Yeah, you are correct. If that's what it is.
Gotta target the Cauldron here. Can't target the Charm, yeah.
Yep, Drew does that. Caldra's, yeah, I guess it can just come back down from the Stoneforge, but it does by a turn. You're right.
I don't know what we can do with that one turn. You can get a good glimpse of Drew's hand if we have any. I guess without Dark Ritual, it's probably going to be pretty tough.
And having to win on this turn.
Yeah. Guess might as well put it in now. Not really a lot of reason not to. Yeah, and then port the island upkeep. Yep, see a port activation. And I'm assuming Drew's drawing pretty thin. I think I saw a second opposition agent.
I did
Yeah,
too.
I don't know. Man, I guess maybe on the draw, like the theory is you just want to make sure you have it for turn two Stoneforge. I feel like on the play, that's something you definitely don't want to. You want to go towards though.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're gonna shift back to modern. But yeah, I feel like it's debatable. I mean, Drew probably knows better than we do, but it is. I mean, there it basically did what you wanted to do, and Drew still got crushed.
To be fair, it was a little unfortunate that he just drew the Cauldron anyways. Like, if that game's a lot different if the Cauldron's just not naturally drawn. But yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. All right, so no problem with mana this game for Andrew. In fact,
all of it.
Yeah.
Perhaps too much of it.
Maybe so. I mean, you're not thinking through this. You know, if it's a remount and collect the company, recast company, same turn. Good luck.
That's true.
Although I guess Ranger Captain shuts that down anyway. So
yeah. With the Arbor Elf, we got 3/6. We got 9 mana. We're almost at what? Ballista for 5 territory. What are we playing? Eldrazi over here?
Let's go. Yeah. Well, in that case, we just have Ulamog. We saw Kozilek cast today out of Eldrazi.
I don't. Something tells me there's no Eldrazi in this green-white Heliod deck,
probably
though.
Not. All right, here's a Fury. Hard cast.
Can't go into that thing. All right, Fury. Doing Fury things. Entering the battlefield, killing 2 creatures. I don't think I've ever seen a Fury not kill 2 creatures.
Oh, come now. I'm sure you have. I'm sure you've seen it kill Planeswalkers plenty of times.
Well, if it kills a Planeswalker and a creature, that's the same thing.
Yeah, sure. All right. Let's see it. I mean, this is 1, 2, 3, 6 mana.
It's a Ballista, right?
Right, it's a Ballista,
yeah.
Okay.
Let's go. This is like Plan Z. You do what you got to do, right? So there's some amount of fancy lands in play. I'm going to assume that at least one of those full border expeditions has got to be a Horizon Canopy, right? I assume so. Looks like there's 2 different ones. I imagine the one that's tapped is, and the other one's probably a Heath. Question is, do we fire off the Ballista here to kill the Fury? I mean, expecting, that John has 4 bolts in his deck, that this Ballista's probably not living anyways. Maybe it's just good to trade it off here, especially if you have nothing left over. And if you let the Fury, if you take 6, then you end up having to kill the Fury anyways. Maybe that ends up being bad for you. I don't know though.
I mean, but if you take 6, you can keep you can kill the Fury and keep the Ballista. Also, if you got Heliod, you're live for everything. That gets defeated by a bolt, but still, you're at least force your opponent to have it. There's a Spike Feeder in hand. I mean, now it's going to eat a potential bolt.
It's weird though, because the Scapeshift is usually when you're dying to Scapeshift, you're dying. It doesn't matter whether you're at 12 or 18 or 25,
Yeah.
So I guess the theory is maybe you're worried about Andrew, or maybe you're worried about John having Dryad because there's a Valakut in play, which, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Because if you take 6 from the Fury, then you're a lot more in range of just this, which is just natural Dryad Valakut.
Plus one of those triggers just picks it off anyway. You just took 6 damage for nothing at that point. Okay, so with Foothills on the board as a potential trigger, this is going to be tricky for Andrew.
Yeah, normally you could just, company into the combo, but we can't really do that because of the foothills in play. If we company for the combo and go for it, then foothills get sacrificed, blow up the spike feeder, and yeah, I don't know. This is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, we do know. Didn't we saw Path a different game, right? Was
We
that this
did. Yep,
match?
we saw
Yeah.
Path game 2.
All right, there's feeder.
Okay, well, I imagine no Heliod because you probably would play the Heliod first.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you wanted to sacrifice the canopy first in case you drew Coco.
Yeah, that's pretty deliberate though. So Andrew probably has a plan. I think there's a Boseiju in hand,
Okay.
and John
Oh, I
doesn't.
wonder. I wonder if he thought that he could get that John was going to fetch EOT, and you could
Maybe,
just
yeah,
respond and kill the Dryad.
yeah. I mean, that would have been nice. John is not tempted though, and with Scapeshift in hand with Ren 6 in play, there appear to be a couple avenues to victory here for John. He just has to commit to one, and then we'll find out if Andrew's cards in hand are enough to defend.
Yeah, smart to leap at the foothills if you expect Boseiju, because you know this is going to bait the Boseiju out, and then you can just scape shift for 7, and that should be good enough.
Well, there's Path in hand also.
Oh,
Okay,
okay. Oh,
Boseiju's
so we're
gonna
going to
hit
kill the
Valakut.
Valakut, and then we have
Uh-huh.
Path for the Dryad.
Okay.
But neither of these beat scape shift plus 7 lands, so. Yeah, so we'll go float a mana, let the Valakut die. You could even pick up the Valakut with Ren, because we haven't used the Ren yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this isn't poor decision from Andrew. It's just there's a lot to have to play through here.
Yeah.
And yeah, Boseiju plus Path seems like, oh, this is a decent amount of stuff. I can probably break through at least and survive the turn, but yeah, actually you can't.
I wonder if I feel like if you expect if you're assuming that John doesn't have scape shift because you're dead regardless, no matter what you do, if you assume
Mm-hmm.
that John doesn't have scape shift, I wonder if it's better to path the Dryad and save the Boseiju. I don't know. I'm not sure what the difference is there. Maybe maybe it's irrelevant
I
regardless.
mean, like as you pointed out, the Ren 6 being able to recur the Valakut is not great.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So here comes the Valakut back into play. John's like, I tapped all 6 mana, but actually that was an accident.
He would have hit himself a little bit, but
Shoot, spike feeder, and then yeah, here's the path. And then
yep.
sorry, Andrew Branham, your teammates are gonna have to carry because this is just too much for you to overcome, it appears.
This maybe would have been okay if there was no scape shift,
Yeah.
Boseiju the Valakut, Boseiju the Valakut, Path the Dryad. But yeah, the scape shift is just too much to overcome. The only thing I could think of is maybe there's not enough mountains. I find it pretty unlikely
Sure.
that that's the case,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, and I mean Andrew's only at 10. Well, I guess 14 potentially from the spike feeder. And there's how many in play? 3. I'm not sure what those lands are next to the breeding pool at the bottom.
there's 11 in the deck, so if there's only 3, he's got plenty. Yeah.
And there's a bolt in hand too. But I mean, people have messed things up before. Okay, those are all. So there's 4 in play now after the mountain.
2, 3, 5, right?
5. You're right.
I think.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, that should leave 6 in deck, so that should be plenty.
Mm-hmm. 3, 4, and with no cards left for Andrew, so 1 Valakut and 3 mountains. That is plenty.
I remember you talking with Julian earlier, and I think Julian was saying that the first time he ever cast Scape Shift, he just got a bunch of breeding pools.
Yeah.
Gotta fix my mana for next turn.
All right, so that looks like 18, and that looks like more than Andrew's life total. So, all right. First match is decided in Modern. We're going to move over to Pioneer. See, Derek Davis and AJ Valentine. And how are we looking here? Well, there's more stuff on the board for AJ than the last time we were here.
This definitely looks a lot closer than game one. There's a
Yeah.
God-fearer statue and a Cavalier of Thorns. Cavalier of Thorns kind of staring off at a Yorion. Not a lot of gas left over, but, already has some stuff in play. Looks like Derek's on 12. So I have to imagine... is this a layer too? Yeah, we get a layer, but I think there's a field.
Yeah, there
It's
is.
It's hard to see, but I think there's a field of
I
ruin.
think there is a field, yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of got that one checked. So yeah, I mean, I guess you just go tag with the Cav. Derek probably doesn't block. Goes to 7. I guess maybe you're thinking about trying to protect the Kiora, but no, that doesn't really matter.
All right, Director David. If Legacy looks like it's going to determine soon, we can shift over there. Otherwise, all right. Well, okay. So Doomsday has been cast. If Doomsday wins, then this match will. Okay, Doomsday just won.
All right,
So this
Doomsday
match
won.
is still live then to finish, as we are now at one match apiece.
The decider.
Yeah. Doomsday has looked good today.
I know, right? We've seen it on camera quite a bit.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it has looked quite good.
All right. So the lair does come in. Field of Ruin does dispatch that. Both players will find a new land. And I haven't gotten a look at Derek Davis's hand, but AJ's doesn't seem to contain much.
I think it was just a land.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Derek's got a Supreme Verdict, a veto, at least. So definitely plenty of tools. And it's going to go ahead and block. Oh, because it's a Supreme Verdict, I suppose.
I mean,
Maybe?
probably just wants to preserve his life total, especially with,
Yeah.
with how much gas he has.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily want to verdict the Cav. I guess if you have a counter spell, you
Yeah.
can like verdict the Cav and then counter whatever gets put back on top. So maybe it's fine.
Yeah, perhaps. All right. So that's Scry from Owen and the Sea Sacrifice. They reveal a Teferi, Hero of Dominaria.
Yeah, the one thing I guess you're worried about if you're Derek is the statue pinging you for 1, but at 12 you should be able to find an answer to it within the next couple of turns. Like I see, what's that? Multiple verdicts, an Aether Gust, a veto, and something. I think it's a white card, maybe a farewell.
All right, so the business
farewell would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, farewell. If that is a farewell, that would certainly seal this up. Stabbing mana pretty quickly. I think it might actually be a farewell. Oh, just a fairy. Okay.
Fairy. So Derek would be at 11 now. If we the Godfrey statue triggers at the end of the controller's turn, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, at the end of your turn. So unless the trigger was missed, maybe.
Maybe, or we maybe just didn't update the life totals yet. Anyway, Teferi's in, draws a card, untap a couple land. Okay. Teferi facing down a lethal attack on itself from the Cavalier, so I'm sure AJ expects there to be something here.
Yeah, this one almost feels... I'm almost ready to call this one. We got 2 Nykthoses in hand and just a bunch of gas for Derek over here. Notice that Derek also, there's a card in Derek's hand. We brought in Rest in Peace, which is a card that I don't actually see a lot of people bring in against Mono Green, but I think it does make a lot of sense. Just being able to stop. It allows you to trade 1-for-1 with a card like Cavalier and a card like Storm the... Well, I guess not Storm the Festival. If it resolves, it gets 2 cards, but it allows you to trade 1-for-1 with these cards and not, feel like you're... The problem with the matchup is you just run out of counter spells eventually because all their cards are required to 2 answers.
Yeah.
And Rest in Peace kind of stops the other half of that.
Yeah. Boy, it would have been something there if AJ had drawn for the turn a creature that would trigger a draw on Kiora and allow the Cavalier to come back this turn.
Yeah.
That would have been exciting. As it stands, I think you're right that Derek is looking pretty safe at this point.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a Tuck the Godfarer statue. Because you have the veto forward and Lloyd back down. Yeah, I like that. And then if you rest in peace, you don't really care about the Cav that much. Also, the funny thing about casting the Cav is if you cast the Cav,
You lose the
mill over
Godpharaoh?
the statue. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you could just 1-for-1 the Cav because you have the rest in peace. With the 1-for-1 the Cav with the verdict, I should say.
Okay, so sacrifice the Omen of the Sea. So we're going to farewell include enchantments. Oh, lockdown. Okay.
Okay. For the flawless victory at this point, you know?
Yeah, I see that. And there's the rest in peace. Fairly picky, but I'm not sure I love sacrificing the Omen of the Sea there. If you leave it under the temporary lockdown, Roman also, or your oath.
True.
The oath, yeah, that's fine. The way it is fine.
It sucks for AJ too because he's in a weird spot where you kind of don't want to cast the Cav because you really do want to draw the statue. You're just doing nothing for the next 2 turns, so you can't do that in the face of the Teferi.
Yeah.
Looks like you drew a spell off of the Kiora draw. Yeah, it's kind of a spell. It's a 2/2. Not sacrifice. Yeah, guess didn't matter.
He knew it was coming.
Oh, maybe did he know about the verdict? Okay, maybe he
I'm
knew
not
about the
sure.
verdict.
No, I don't know that he did.
Even if he didn't, you probably have to assume it's there.
But if it is there, I mean, well, I guess there's no. I mean, this is the last game, so there's the
That's
troll
start.
that would have been nice to draw earlier. But yeah, I mean, there's still Kiora in play.
Chain off a couple of big creatures here. There's the oath.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's probably gonna get vetoed, right? You have to assume.
No,
Not gonna
it's in
veto.
there.
I guess worst case you oath into a creature and then you have the verdict to clean it up anyways. Because you can just if oath hits like a card or something, you just counter that. Found an elf. That's probably not going to do us a lot of good here. Gonna do some amount of Nykthos mana. Make a 2/2.
Well, they couldn't possibly have another verdict, right?
That's when we start saying 80 cards, by the way.
It's just rigged? Come on now.
It's always rigged. Whenever there's a Yorion involved, it's always rigged.
All right. Wolf in play, elf in play. Draw off Teferi, draw a replacement Teferi. Obviously not rigged. Derrick would never draw a blank like it's extra Teferi. Who wants that? And yeah, I mean, AJ has probably had the feeling for a few turns that this is not looking good.
I would like to say that I would like to call this game over.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but yeah.
And that's it.
And there it is.
You're at alongside the 2 Nykthos in hand and 1 in play, and the team of Derrick Davis, Andrew Branham, and Drew Myers will advance to the top 4. All right. And now momentarily we will find out whether the top 4 is going to be played out right now, forthcoming, or in the morning. So the other matches are still in progress, so we'll have to wait on that for a moment. But let's go ahead and celebrate Davis, Branham, and Myers advancing through top 4. Good for them. Let's go ahead and bring the bracket back up so if we can see where they came from and where they might be headed next.
That was the 4-5, right?
Yeah, it was the 4-5 matchup. So they're, I'm sure, rooting for the 8 seed to win so they can go first in the next round. What's your feeling on, I don't know if we've talked about this, you and me, before. I feel like in a team event where the higher seed gets to go first in all 3 matches, I feel like that's all. I mean, I understand the impetus to try and have the higher seed have some advantage, but that's a lot, I feel like.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a way to track it. Maybe this is just too much tracking where you kind of track the individual players' records and or maybe it's not feasible, but like have a, like like top 8 Pioneer based on breakers, top 8 Modern based on breakers, top 8 Legacy based on breakers, and have those higher seeds go first in their respective matches. But then I don't know, that's probably just too much there.
Yeah, and then another idea would be like, well, the higher seed gets to pick 2 of the 3 matches to go first in, but then that just gets messy, even though it doesn't seem. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's not even too much of an advantage, but it feels like a lot.
For sure. Yeah, when all 3 get to go first, that is a massive advantage for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed that quarterfinal. Let's go ahead and jump back to us then, and we'll hit one more time on the upcoming events and a few other things. So let's go ahead and, for the afternoon, evening crowd, show the season 3 schedule, which we're beginning with this weekend with the Legacy Modern Pioneer Team 10K. We have Modern 5K tomorrow. 2 events in November. We have another team event, just like this one, except the Sunday trial is a 5K Pioneer. Back home in the Chicagoland area at the end of the month, at the end of November, we have our first 10K Pioneer and a 5K Modern. And then the Showdown in December, 15K Modern. That winner of that event gets an invite. Winner of all these events gets invites to the regional championships. The winner of the December Showdown also gets an invite to the Nerd Rage Championship, and then a 5K Pioneer. Also, points on the line. Out of these 4 events, the top 2 achievers in points who are not already qualified will earn a spot at the end of the year championship as well. So that is going to wrap the Magic coverage up for the day. The top 4 and the finals are going to play out tomorrow morning, as they usually do. You can look for that at, 9 Eastern time. When the top 4 will begin. We'll have Anurag and Julian will be here to take you through that and the finals in the first couple rounds of Pioneer, and then I'll be back for the rest of the day. I'm sorry. Did I say Pioneer? I meant Modern. The 5K tomorrow is Modern. Devin, I don't know.
I'm running Modern. It's late, Joe. It's late.
Yeah, it's not even late. It's just that we started early, and that's basically has the same effect. Anyway, so that is going to conclude the Magic actions today. Thank you for waiting through all the breaks. Those of you that did, I know it was a lot. Next year, potentially, Nerd Rage will work on adding more camera feeds, more tables, so this isn't quite so much of an issue. But we're working with what we're working with, and we're doing the best we can, and we hope you enjoyed it. Devin, awesome having you here. Thanks for your insights.
It's a blast as always. Thanks again for having me, and we get to see a lot of sweet Legacy, and just all 3 formats have been pretty sweet today. So
yeah. I mean, we had
a blast.
Doomsday kind of cleaning up, taking names. That was fun to watch. You all can find Devin on the Doomwake channel, which is on Twitch. I don't know if you're on YouTube as well, but
Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, all that stuff. Same handles. So
I figured as much. Yeah. See, the people who have a different name for the different channels, it's like, no, what you're not understanding. I know nothing about branding, but even I understand that much. Anyway, all right. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you again tomorrow morning at 9 Eastern time. Good night.